Coming up ahead, this isn't a feel-good documentary. It's the true story of a disabled man who literally hires someone to teach him how to have sex for the first time. Not dating advice, not therapy, actual intimate sessions that completely change his life.
He's been a client of Sensual Solutions for over a year.
You're about to see how a confidence lesson turns into hands-on intimacy, how his family reacts, and why this entire situation is way more intense than anyone watching the original video ever realized. And trust me, this is only the tip of the iceberg. Meet Spencer Williams, a 24-year-old radio host who sounds confident on air, but carries a secret most people never think about.
Spencer Williams is a 24-year-old radio show host living with cerebral palsy in Vancouver.
While his friends grew up, dated, experimented, and stumbled through awkward first experiences, Spencer didn't get any of it. Living with cerebral palsy, his body moved differently. His opportunities were limited, and the world around him quietly decided he wasn't ready for things everyone else considered normal. No first kiss, no first date, no intimacy. Nothing. Behind the smile and the radio voice was a guy who was tired of waiting for life to happen, and that missing piece started eating at him. The more he talked about disability and sexuality on his show, the more he realized he wasn't just curious, he felt left behind. He wanted closeness, touch, connection. He wanted the same experiences his friends joked about in high school, the ones he thought he'd eventually get around to. But years passed. Nothing changed, and his confidence took the hit. By the time he reached his early 20s, Spencer wasn't just inexperienced. He was desperate for something real, something human, something he was scared he might never have.
With sex, I got confidence, and because of that, my life is like so much better.
Spencer didn't just sit around hoping things would magically change. He started searching for answers, typing late-night questions into Google, reading forums, looking up agencies, and trying to figure out how someone like him could actually experience intimacy for the first time. But everything he found looked shady, risky, or straight up unsafe, until he stumbled onto something he never expected, a service where people are trained to help disabled clients experience real intimacy.
Sex surrogates, also called intimacy coaches, are professionals who are hired to provide a sensual touch and erotic coaching for people with sexual dysfunction or physical challenges.
Not advice, not theory, actual physical guidance. And for Spencer, this wasn't just interesting, it felt like his only chance. When Spencer found this service, curiosity turned into something heavier. He wanted to know if this was actually real, if someone like him could finally experience intimacy instead of just imagining it. That's when he met Trish, the woman who created the program. She didn't talk to him like he was broken. She didn't treat intimacy like some forbidden topic. She told him directly, people with disabilities want touch, connection, and confidence, just like everyone else. And most of them never get the chance. Trish explained how many clients arrived nervous, ashamed, or convinced they'd never be seen as desirable. Some had never even been held or kissed. Others didn't know what they liked because nobody ever gave them space to explore it.
There has to be a service that helps people with disabilities, and I thought, what's the big deal?
Hearing that shook Spencer. He finally understood he wasn't some rare case. He was one of thousands who felt left out of one of the most basic parts of being human. Then he learned about the intimacy coaches. These weren't random people. Most had health backgrounds, training, and a clear understanding of how to work with clients whose bodies moved differently. They talked about touch, comfort, and helping clients find new ways to feel pleasure. They weren't offering fantasies. They were offering guidance, support, and real physical experience. And that's when everything clicked for Spencer. This wasn't a risky shortcut. This wasn't something to be embarrassed about. For the first time ever, he could imagine intimacy that actually worked for him. Something real, something human, something he never thought he'd get. And once he felt that possibility, there was no turning back. He knew he had to take the next step.
It's good to see you. How are your legs feeling?
Like jello right now.
Oh, that's what I like to hear.
If you're a person with disability, there's a certain level of vulnerability that you have to be okay with.
Deciding to do it was one thing. Telling his family was another. Spencer knew this was personal, awkward, and way outside anything he'd ever talked about at home. But he also knew he couldn't hide it forever. So he did the unthinkable. He told his dad first, and to his surprise, his dad didn't freak out, didn't shame him, didn't tell him it was wrong. He actually thought it was cool, supportive. He understood exactly why Spencer wanted this experience and didn't see anything wrong with his son wanting to feel normal. For Spencer, that reaction meant everything. It felt like someone finally gave him permission to chase the part of life he'd been missing. But the real problem was his mom.
My mom's uncomfortable with it, but she understands. She's like a lawyer who deals with human.
She worked in law, dealt with cases involving exploitation and trafficking, and saw the world through a very different lens. When Spencer told her what he wanted to do, she panicked. She wasn't angry at him. She was scared. Scared he'd get hurt. Scared he'd get taken advantage of. Scared he was stepping into something dangerous. To her, anything involving paid intimacy felt wrong. She lumped it into the same category as the things she fought against in her career. This created a tension Spencer wasn't ready for. His dad saying, "Let him do it, he's a grown man," while his mom worried he was heading into something dark. And for the first time, Spencer realized just how lonely this journey was. He wasn't choosing between right and wrong. He was choosing between staying stuck forever or finally experiencing the part of life he'd been denied. His family couldn't decide for him. His friends couldn't do it for him. This was his moment, his choice, his life, and deep down, he knew exactly what he was going to do next. With his mind made up, Spencer finally took the first real step. He booked a session. And the moment he did, everything hit him at once. The nerves, the excitement, the fear of the unknown. He wasn't watching movies anymore. He wasn't imagining what intimacy might feel like. He was actually going to experience it. For someone who spent his whole life on the outside, that single decision felt massive. He described himself as hella nervous, but underneath that fear was something stronger, relief. Relief that he'd finally found a path forward instead of just waiting for life to happen. The day of the session wasn't some perfect fantasy moment. It was messy, emotional, and overwhelming in the best way. Spencer wasn't just meeting a coach. He was meeting another human being who didn't see him as the disabled guy. Someone who wasn't uncomfortable touching him, guiding him, or helping him explore things he'd only imagined before. And for Spencer, that alone was life-changing. He'd spent years feeling invisible, feeling like his body made him undesirable, feeling like intimacy just wasn't meant for him. But during that first experience, something different happened. He felt connected, seen, human. And when it was over, he wasn't confused or ashamed. He wasn't embarrassed. He felt empowered. For the first time in his entire life, he had a real memory, not a fantasy, of intimacy. Something he could look back on and say, this actually happened to me. And he knew instantly that this one moment would change everything. How he carried himself, how he spoke, how he saw his own future. This wasn't just sex for him. It was the start of a new identity, one where he finally felt like he belonged in the world everyone else had been living in for years. After that first experience, Spencer wasn't the same person anymore. The confidence he talked about on camera wasn't fake. It was real, and it hit him hard. Suddenly, he understood what everyone else had been talking about for years. The connection, the closeness, the feeling of being wanted, all the things he thought he'd never have. And it didn't stop there. Every session felt different, each one peeling back another layer of fear he'd been carrying his whole life. He said it felt brand new every time, like reliving a moment he thought he would never get. That's what intimacy meant to him. Not a fantasy, not a taboo, but a reminder that he wasn't broken. He wasn't behind, and he wasn't excluded from the world everyone else lived in. And the impact spread into the rest of his life. Spencer's confidence went through the roof. He carried himself differently on his radio show. He spoke more openly about topics people were too scared to touch. He became someone who didn't hide from conversations about disability and sexuality. He led them, because he knew there were thousands of people just like him, stuck in silence, waiting for someone to say out loud what they were afraid to admit. Spencer wasn't just gaining experience, he was gaining purpose. By the end of the documentary, it's clear this wasn't a simple story about a guy wanting to lose his virginity. It was something much deeper. It exposed how society treats disabled people like they're not supposed to want intimacy. How families, friends, and even institutions pretend sexuality disappears if someone has a disability. Spencer is living proof that it doesn't, that desire doesn't vanish, that loneliness doesn't fade, and that everyone, no matter their body, deserves the chance to feel closeness, connection, and confidence. And that's the real bottom of this iceberg. Not the service, not the coaches, not the controversy, but the truth underneath it all. People with disabilities are shut out of experiences the rest of the world takes for granted. Spencer didn't go through all of this because he wanted a wild story. He did it because he wanted to feel human, to feel worthy, to feel seen. And in the end, that's exactly what he got. He didn't just walk away with experience. He walked away with identity, bravery, and a future he could finally see himself in.